Good afternoon and welcome to Desert Valleys Live. It's City Talk, and today we've got a special guest, my friend, Mr. Dave Ostash, the superintendent for the Sierra Sands School District. Thanks, Dave, for being here.
You're most welcome.
I say we had some technical difficulties there in the glitching, so if you heard anything, just ignore it. We're gonna have some fun. We've been talking. I said Dave and I have known each other since you were an assistant principal. What year was the first year you did Follies?
Oh, gosh.
My first year was 04, so.
I would say it was around then, maybe a year or two before you got
Maybe
involved.
a year or
It
two?
was Ernie Bell who got me involved. I moved here in 96, and so it was just a few years. It was 02, 03, 04.
02, 03, yeah.
Yeah.
I say. So if you've never done Star Follies, and if you're a Follies alumni, which got me in trouble in November, obviously, in a humorous state of mind. But you're part of a family, and what year have you stopped, or did you do the last show?
Let's see. None of us did it last.
No, not last year. I meant 19.
No, I think I took a break the year before, but it was just a couple years ago. I was in it.
Yeah, I stopped in 11.
Okay.
And I know that, and I've never went back.
I'm fairly current. I pretty much am involved. I'd say 3 or 4 out of each 5 years. I always try to take at least 1 year break. You got a little bit of distance makes the acts a little funnier.
I said I knew it was time for me to go, and you will remember the flag bandana. I knew it was time for me to exit stage right and do some growing up, and I had my first child that year, and
there you go. That'll do it.
That did the trick. So we're here to talk about the school district. You've obviously had an incredibly busy month, and I just want to first, as with the mayor's hat on, commend you and your entire team at SSUSD in getting the kids back into school. I know it has been a monumental task.
It has been.
We appreciate it as a community, and I don't want to underplay the amount of work I know you guys have went through to make that happen.
I appreciate that.
In extremely frustrating circumstances.
Just overlays of governance and guidance, county, state, fed, and just navigating that has been a challenge. But we're there. We made it. We just have one last hurdle, which is the absolute 100% full back in school. All day long, and that we're headed that way. This August, we're going to.
We think we'll be there in
Absolutely.
August. I'm of the same opinion. So background in our relationship, I still serve on the charter board, and then we have a relationship between charter and SSU USD, and I think we're online for roughly the same thing.
Yeah,
I know
agree.
it's and I think that everyone wants to see that too, not just the students, which are the first and foremost important thing, but I think the teachers and the parents and the admin. It's chaos.
Agreed. Well, I mean, it brings that kind of regularity, that routine to everyone's day, and to get where students need to get, right? Whether it's that career preparation, military, college, university, whatever it may be, you need to have the time in. You need to be able to move through those steps, and to have it abbreviated, or have a half-day instruction, or for some being at home. These are all disruptions.
Yeah,
to
the disruptions.
Process. Yeah.
And the social interaction, I know, is really big on how child development is. And child development, this has not been good for a lot of the kids in terms of their development, and there's going to be some catch up to be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you seeing that in just your perspective about the kids, or? I see it in mine. That's why I was curious.
So in the earliest learners, we know that we already have data that shows some pretty significant gaps with what I call the literacy and numeracy. Because in that kindergarten,
ELA and math.
Absolutely. That kindergarten to second grade, that 3-year span, nowadays it's kind of that TK through 2, but that 3-year kindergarten through second grade span is absolutely foundational and critical for letter recognition and building up that literacy.
The reading ability.
Right. And we are seeing throughout the state, and we are no exception, where we have an increased percentage of students who don't have that letter recognition at the right stage, at the right level. So one of the ways of mitigating that is, it's been, I don't even remember the last time our district had summer learning say camps
Yeah.
or
Summer
school
school,
or
whatever.
academy for elementary. It's
Oh,
always been for
okay.
high school. So this summer we will have a very extensive summer program for all elementary students.
That's
So
incredible news. I had
yeah,
not heard
yeah,
that. That's
we're
fantastic.
just lifting that up. So the state of California has extended a grant called the Extended Learning Opportunity Grant. We call it ELO. Of course, we have to have an acronym for everything, right? But the ELO grant provides money to districts to actually fund, that process, because the reason why we don't do that is we don't have the money to do that.
that.
We can't pay teachers and
No,
staff and
No, because they're on their 10-month or
that's right.
yeah,
They're on
their
summer, and
their
so
10-month schedule.
this grant that has been provided has actually pre-funded for this summer and next summer, summer
Wow, that's
2022,
fantastic.
and of course next school year. Between those two summers, we can basically all the local school districts, and I would imagine Realms has.
It may be through the county, but I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
there's usually partnership opportunities
Yeah.
that happen.
So we have to
Hopefully soon, where they're complete partnerships.
Yeah, there you go. So as long as we submit our plan to the state, to the county first, and then to the state, then we qualify for that funding. So that funding for Sierra Sands is about $3.4 million
Wow, that's fantastic.
of additional funding that comes right here to the local school district. And then, like I said, we'll be able to get hundreds and hundreds of our elementary students into summer
That's
programs. And
fantastic.
we're calling them academies, basically.
So are those going to be like 2 or 3 hours? Or are they going to be closer to like full days?
4-hour days.
Okay.
We think an 8
That's
a.m. to
fantastic, though.
noon is a really good block for elementary students to basically to close that gap,
Right.
the gaps that we're identifying. We're also going to offer summer school for middle school students as well.
Okay, and I think
So-
that makes a lot of sense because they're probably in a age bracket where it's not just ELA skills, but maybe it's the mathematics skills or
Right.
certain ones like
Yeah.
that become more challenging in order for them to continue to advance. I would
Right.
assume.
Right.
I mean, if I took entire years off, I wouldn't have wanted my geometry or calculus any more than I wanted it in
Yeah.
8th or 9th grade. And I am the only person you'll ever find in finance, I think, in town that loves numbers and hates math.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I can study numbers till I'm blue in the
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
But if you ask me to do another derivative, I will throw something at somebody because
Standard deviation,
oh,
derivative.
Jesus. No, thank
So,
you. But again, that's fantastic because that's an
Yeah.
awesome piece of information.
Yeah.
I had not even heard in my role that is fantastic to hear.
Yeah.
And so the existing students, would they just follow up with our parents? Would they just follow up with the school as you
Yeah,
get more
there's a
information out?
registration process,
Okay.
and we will register students based on priority. And the students who need it the most will get basically that priority registration, and then students who want to be in it, we will make room for them. So-
Since we're on that line, let's talk about testing for a quick sec. Because
Yeah.
my son just did, so, my son decided to do, my wife decided to do homeschooling for this year
Sure.
under the COVID banner. And I'm not, who might argue with her? Happy wife, happy life.
There you go.
But he just finished the online testing. Did you guys do testing this year
We
for
have what
students?
we call interim assessment blocks and various like benchmarking that we've continued. And then what the state has done is come in and say, well, we're going to basically administer like 50% of the what's called CASP
Yeah,
testing.
CASP.
And so we will administer that, but it's not required.
Yeah, I know it's
interestingly.
not required. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's gonna they use CAPS testing for a lot of things.
Yes. Yeah.
There's going
Yeah.
to be an interesting conversation about a year from now on
Right. Yeah.
how does
And-
a absence of CAPS testing
And how do
affect
you
funding?
measure the learning when you're in distance learning
Yeah.
the whole time? So,
Absolutely. It's these are just some of the challenges that I don't think parents would quite see. Parents saw the impact of their kids not in school.
right.
The back end is some of the incredible, education, if you're not aware, education is an incredibly complex government entity.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, you've got obviously the aspirational part of it is the education, the learning, but you have the employment side. You have the collective bargaining. We talked about
Yeah.
that a little bit earlier, and so it's very complex. It's public policy.
Yeah. These
So-
are not, and these are regulated Brown Acts. These are elected board members. These are public officials. This is not just, an independent company that can make decisions. It's a
No.
very unwieldy.
No.
It's a Titanic of a ship to
Right.
turn.
Not to mention the Brown Act and all of the legal requirements for public, noticing, and it's critically important.
It's a lot of work, and that's why shutting down schools was no joke
No,
on many fronts, but bringing them back is also not like flipping a switch.
right. When I think back to March, which felt like a dog year, I mean, that felt like 7 years ago. And we shut down schools to flatten the curve. That
Yeah.
was the
That was the
intention,
intent.
right?
It was just a short
That was
period.
the intent. And here we are about a year later, actually reintegrating back into person, which, by the way, we have almost 3,000 of 5,000 students back into
That's
the
fantastic.
classroom. It is fantastic. And what's even more fantastic than that is that those parents who want their students to remain in distance learning have the choice to do that.
Right. The
right?
hybrid model is
So-
well, and I think right now you're using a hybrid kind of an in-person and distance for even the in-person, right? That they do like half a day in.
The in-person is half a day, and then sorry, I'm perspiring all of a sudden.
No, it's probably watch this. This is technology at its best. Here we go, guys. I have the ability now. So this is one of my recent upgrades to the office. Is I have been investing in energy.
Right.
We're going to be putting in, so there's some desert valleys in here. We didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm putting in 2 electric car.
Oh,
charging
that's awesome.
stations.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm also putting in solar in the property.
Oh, that's really cool. We've
this fall.
been considering doing
But
that for the
I
district.
can adjust temperatures
Oh, that's
from
awesome.
my device now.
That's awesome.
So I just turned up I just
Okay.
turned down the AC. There you go.
We've actually considered bringing solar into the district. It's something we'd like to do. We have determined that about $1 million a year of our budget is spent on utilities,
Oh, yeah.
mainly electricity.
Yeah, we were a mess. So the building was built in '06, and it had no temperature controls for Saturdays or Sundays,
Okay.
and it was just a mess.
Yeah.
So we'd have ACs running during the summer.
Yeah.
From Saturdays to Sundays. I said, we're fixing this problem. First
Yeah.
opportunity I got. But
Yeah.
that's
cool.
That's a veer into the Desert Valleys land. But hopefully I'll
That's
see
really
that
cool.
kick on in just a second.
Yeah. No worries.
I turned it all the way down to 68 because
There you
I
go.
feel the same way.
Yeah.
But we're making real good progress, and like I said, compliments to the school district and
Yeah.
everything that you went through.
And I have to say, I just want to plug that part of the success that we've been able to kind of close the loop, bring us back. Our governing board, just all 5 members, they really supported the district. They established the priority of getting our students back into the classroom as soon as we could, as soon as it's safe.
opportunistic.
And there's so many different opinions about what that timeline should have looked like, could have looked like, would have looked like. The reality is, in California, you had the overlay between the CDC, then the California Department of Public Health, and all of
And then Calvin CDE on top of that.
all of
Department
it,
Education.
all of it, and it just became, well, not to mention that Kern County, for whatever all the different reasons are, we were in the deep purple.
Oh yeah,
And you're in
for
the
a lot longer.
when you're in the deep purple, you just have some real limitations.
Yeah, we were. I think one of the things that I think many organizations, not just one. I can count Ridgecrest Regional Hospital. I can count the school district. I can count the college. I can count even many of our local businesses. I think they've done an incredible job of navigating what was a very changing situation
Right.
at all times.
Yeah.
We went through it here. I know exactly how you feel. PPP, hey, we're working PPP, and the next thing we know, there's a whole nother set of rules, and then
Yeah.
there's another set of rules, and then there's a new guidance, and there's another set of rules. It's constantly changing playing field.
Things were changing all the time. One of the saving graces for us was that we were able to early on. It was about October, November. We were able to implement, because there's all the terms, right? But the acute cohorts was a
Yep.
term.
Yep.
We were able to lift up about 15 to 20 classrooms for our most needy
For
students.
most of these students.
Now, look, every student
is of
has
need.
needs.
That's right.
And for each student, their folks, their parents, their guardians are saying, "Hey, what about my kid?" And I always was very sympathetic to that, but or very sensitive to that is what I would say. But that was really helpful to us because when we opened those classrooms up, there was a provision in basically the code that as long as you had some open
So
classrooms,
that was what we did.
you
That's
were
what Charter
open,
did. Yeah,
right?
as long as you opened a classroom while you were in that. It was when we were in red for what I think we were red for 3 weeks or something in
Yeah,
October before
that hurt us because we went to red and we had a plan, but then we went back to
we
purple.
reverted. Like,
And because some of our schools were quote open and not all of them were, it slowed us down in our overarching plan. And so it just became difficult. And then the other issue that was a real challenge for us, and thankfully I think that's been resolved, is because of the remoteness, we had trouble getting the vaccines here.
oh yeah,
That
yeah,
really so there
we're
was a
slow.
there was a moment in February, where I was thinking, when are we I was getting worried,
Yeah,
like when are we going to be able to pull this together?
you
And
can't
all of a
send me
sudden,
60 shots. Yeah,
and shout out to Mr. Suber,
yeah,
Jim Suber, the CEO at Ridgecrest Hospital, and the whole staff there. Um, were doing everything they possibly could
to
to get
manage.
us in the queue,
Yep.
to get us
To get your
going. And
teachers
all of a
vaccinated.
sudden, it was like this one call that just pulled us all together and
Yeah.
galvanized the effort. It was, hey, we've got, I don't know, it was like 100 vaccines set aside for your staff. And we were ready to go. We already had a list. We had people ready to go. The ones who were going to be the soonest, the early education, the ones coming back soonest. And all of a sudden, 2 days later, hey, we've got another fill
You
in the
got
blank. And
another
all of a
100,
sudden,
another
within I'd say 8 to 10 days, all of the
you got
Sierra
you're
Sand
gonna
staff
get your
who
staff.
wanted to be vaccinated, which is a pretty good percentage,
Yeah.
got vaccinated. And that totally transformed the conversation, both among staff, but also at the bargaining table, because collective bargaining
Yep.
is a requirement. So, oh yeah, it feels a lot better in here
I,
now. Anyways, yeah, you have power in that phone.
I love mobile. I love mobile. I think cloud technology is such a cool way
It
of
is
starting
cool.
to properly manage businesses. But I think that one of the things that businesses do so piss poor, very honestly, is it's reinvesting in the business itself.
Yeah.
So we've been here now. I mean, like I said, so in '96, you said you came here in '96. Did you start working at the school
96.
district in
Yeah,
'96?
in
So
96.
this is your 25th anniversary.
It
Congratulations!
is. Yeah, I'm finishing 25 years. So
That's
I
awesome.
came here like a lot of Ridgecrest folks, thinking I'd be here for not just 1 year. I thought I'd be here for 10 months. You know, I
I know the story.
I honestly thought,
I said 2 years, but I know the
I
story.
thought, okay, well, this is a great opportunity. I was just finishing UCLA, and I really intended to go to law school. I thought I would do, but public education has been in the kind of family line. I thought, oh, I'm familiar with that. I'm devoted to. I have a heart for education. I had a lot of experiences with lifeguarding and swim instructing and that kind of thing, working with kids. I had a heart for that. So, anyways, I thought, oh, okay, this opportunity presented itself, and I thought, I'll do this for a year, and it'd just be a great opportunity. And then I'll go to law school. Well, I just fell in love. I was at Burroughs High School, English teacher, dropped into coaching for swimming, and got involved with anything and everything. And before you knew it, I just was completely all in, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
And so it's
I know exactly how you feel. That's
and
awesome.
and it may sound a little corny, but I think 25 years. I just don't know where the time has gone.
Yeah. The important thing to realize, and this is something I think that we as a community have to recognize and value. Here's an incredible thing that I see in your story is you came to this community 25 years ago. You made this your home. But more importantly, you've got 25 years of you still left to give to this community.
100%.
And that's what's fantastic. These are the type of, Dave, you're a perfect example of we need to be cultivating as many of these
Right.
people into working within the community as quickly as possible. And you've been doing it for years. And I'm just saying, if you've been out there and you've been part of that community, stand up and get involved.
Yes.
We need. I started in credit unions in '97, so I'm next year's my 25th anniversary of being in credit unions, and it's so rare when you find people that keep from their early 20s all the way to mid 40s. But man, are they valuable because they know their business.
Right.
Just like I know credit unions, you know education inside
Right.
and out.
And education, one of the things that I don't want to say preached, but I've talked about kind of this philosophical concept between a job, a career, and a lifestyle. And I always feel like when one is involved, well, credit union is a movement and it's a passion. I think public education is the same. if you really have, if you're really impassioned about why you're doing it, then does become a passion and it's a lifestyle. It's not just a job. Like
No,
what you and I
no.
do, what you do in the credit union
Oh yeah.
industry,
And
and
for
what
those of
I
you who
do
don't know, that you served on the Alta One board for several years. And
several
so
years.
he knows
Yeah,
the inside,
the
he knows a little bit of the inside baseball of credit union movement.
I do, and
Yeah.
and it's actually transformed the way that I mean. I will always be a credit union member owner. Member,
Member owner.
I
Yep.
believe in the movement. I believe in, and I actually believe there's a lot of parallels in a credit union concept and what it means.
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of parallels to public education. Just like a credit union is an asset to a community, it's an asset to people of ordinary
Yep.
means and such. I mean,
Ordinary.
it could be for anyone,
Yep.
right? It could be for anyone.
The little man matters.
But the ordinary, and same thing with public education. We're part of something greater than ourselves.
Yep.
We're part of providing the dream, providing opportunity, providing for your financial fluency and freedom. For us, it's
You're
life
preparing education. You're educating the next generation of people in terms of understanding
for
just
life.
life.
Yeah, and while a credit union obviously has a bottom line to watch, and you have to be mindful,
Carefully.
but very carefully. But you're not really truly driven by
No.
profit, right? That's not your like root interest. Your root interest is to serve people and to help them reach their goals. Just like public schools,
Yep.
we have to watch our budgets very carefully. We have to be good stewards of the taxpayer
Right.
money. But our driving root
Your mission isn't the
cause,
money.
our mission is to serve students, and we need really good people. We need
Yeah.
good teachers and good staff members and
And you have some
volunteers.
incredible ones that have been there for long.
Absolutely.
I've been thoroughly impressed. So I've worked with, like I said, Dave, for years. You guys have had an incredible succession process for the last several years. You've just done a very smart process. From bringing it was Shirley right before.
Well, so Jody
Jody.
she was actually superintendent for Jody Rummer for 10 years.
Okay.
Did a great job, great role model. I think that we recognize in the district that you always want to have, this meritocracy where, you put the best people in the position just because they're just the best candidate for the
Yeah.
position. Obviously, that's kind of a leading edge. But to the extent that you can cultivate, people in your organization to be that best
Mhm.
candidate, it's very beneficial to the organization for stability, for continuity,
Mhm.
and for sustainability. Because you and I both know that we live in a remote area, and not everyone. It takes a coalition of resources for someone to realize, hey, this is a great place. Like you talk about the oasis in the desert,
Oasis in the desert.
right? But not everybody reaches that realization.
Well, and when you first get here, you certainly don't have it out of the gate. It
Yeah.
takes a little bit, but you start to find the little things that you appreciate about sense of community.
Yeah.
The idea that two guys I can drop a phone call and say, hey, with the superintendent, okay, done.
Yeah.
And that is a sense of community that doesn't exist in urban areas.
Total
and
community.
It's an incredible value, but what it does is it gives us such an opportunity as a community to do so much more when we get out of our own ways. And I think we've been starting to really finally get that in our
I agree.
minds.
Think about this. Think about how I've thought about this for a while, and it's probably a theory that I could read about, but I haven't seen it in a book. But I'm not pretending I've made this up either.
Yeah, I like it.
But think about this. In a school district like ours, or in a credit union like yours, or in all of the employers in our town, the vast majority of the people who work in our organizations live in the same area,
absolutely.
right? So
They're your neighbors.
that degree of buy-in, that degree of ownership, I think does a lot, because as opposed to in various other places, especially in California, a large state, lots of metropolitan, large suburbs, you could have a school district where the majority of the employees don't actually live in that zip
Right.
code, right?
Or
a
they're
credit union.
spread, they have 45-minute drive. Everything that's spread out. Yeah.
And so the way that they invest their family resources, whether it's their shopping dollars or their community involvement, like with youth sports
Yep.
or civic involvement, it's a very split set of resources. Where here in the Indian Wells Valley, the vast majority of the people who work here
Live here.
absolutely live here,
Yeah.
and therefore live here, play here, invest here,
Passionate for here.
passionate. And so I think the level of accountability and genuine response to one another
It's
as
a huge
I
value.
think it's a huge value.
Yeah, I give a great example. I said your neighbor, your coworker is your neighbor. So in my cul-de-sac, Robert, who's been my loan officer, who's the only person here with more seniority than me at the credit union,
Is
because
that right?
He was hired 7 months before I was.
Okay,
So he's the only person with longer seniority.
that's
than me.
pretty cool.
Lives 2 doors down, and then Rebecca McCourt, who I've got working a lot with the EDC.
Oh yes, yes.
She lives across the street in the cul-de-sac. So literally, our kids are in Cub Scouts together. My loan officer is my neighbor. That's what Ridgecrest is.
Yes.
If you ever want to really understand what it means to be a rural community, that's what it is, and it's an incredibly valuable resource.
Right.
I love
Yeah.
those aspects of this community.
It is a significant part of our culture and who we are. And when we come to work and we do our business, we're going to give each and every person we come across our very best.
Yep.
Not because we wouldn't do it otherwise. I mean, there's a certain
Yeah, but
professionalism.
there's something about facing them
but
if you're
there's
just phoning it in.
There's something
Yep.
about facing the accountability is really high. So
Yep, you're absolutely right. I can't phone in my opinion of you if you live next door to me. We're going to talk, and eventually we're going to either clear the air or we're going to find different directions. But
That's
but
right.
We're not going to let this just kind of the natural shove under the carpet
Yeah.
effect happen.
Exactly.
It's an
Yeah.
incredible thing. You said you were a swimming coach. I didn't know. So when you say swimming, I got to tell you, you know exactly what comes into my head, right? Is the Folly skit.
Oh, geez.
Instantaneously, you
Stop.
say swimming.
Stop.
I see swimming. I might even make a link to the post, but I'm just kidding. So you were a swimming coach.
I was a swimming coach. So Charlie Laddig he's an institution, and he's the only coach at Burroughs High School who has a few CIF championships under his belt, so to speak. But he had been swimming coach for a long time, 20, maybe close to 30 years, and he was getting close to retirement. And just timing wise, he was an English teacher. I was an English teacher, and shared with him. He knew that I was a swimmer in high school, played water polo, and so it was great. I got to do that for about 5 years, and then I transitioned into administration, and I really wasn't able to continue it.
Yeah, makes sense.
But it was a really great chapter in my career pathway.
So I got to ask the question then, of course, which is, how do you feel about the need for a community pool?
Oh my goodness! I mean, it's actually one of the great ironies that how could you possibly have this wonderful, resourced, nice community in the middle of the desert and not have a pool.
Yeah.
I mean, we really need to find the way. I don't cast any criticism or dispersion on anyone or any
Nope.
organization, because they are expensive to have and maintain, but we need to find the way as a community to do that, because it's a safety issue, really, truly.
It absolutely is.
We know that drownings in the nation are one of
There's
the
a
major.
child that just drowned in Kern yesterday at a tragedy that.
It's a basic life skill.
Yeah.
And it is one of the significant risk factors for death for children in the nation. And then you take into consideration our specific being a desert hot area. I mean, what better healthy recreational opportunity could you have for 4 or 5 months of the year
Absolutely
than a
agree.
pool? So I'm a huge supporter of it.
I've said that's my mission. I may not pull it off by November 22, and then the voters will have a second chance at their opinion of me. But I can tell you that's the number one. We're going to do a workshop tonight. So council's meeting tonight, and then we're also meeting tomorrow night. Tonight's our workshop, and the goal is to get our top 10.
Yeah.
What are the things that I may see pool as number one with a bullet, and another council member may not. And so kind of the law of averages of what's the important issues. And
believe me, as a public servant, I understand that you have more needs than you have resources.
Oh God, yes.
So you're always going to have to navigate that, and I fully respect that you and your colleagues have a big task with that. But I sure hope that we can find the way.
I think we're going to find it. I think we're going to find it. It may take some pinch, and it might require a lot of community support, but I think we can find a way to get it done.
Well, what else?
Um,
What else do you want to? I mean, there's
well,
so
actually,
many.
we're having fun. We're just
Yeah,
talking. They love to give. Thank you,
we
Amanda,
don't.
for giving me printed questions.
We don't even need questions.
We didn't.
We could just rock and
We
roll.
rocked for 30. We've already rocked for about 30 minutes
Yeah.
just talking. But I mean, what's the things? Tell me. I loved hearing about the summer camp. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the type of thing.
Yeah, we're excited
That's the type
about
of
it.
thing I hadn't heard. So here's the thing: is what is it that the public doesn't hear that we can share? That pound your chest, raise the flag. That you say, these are the things that SSUSD is planning or looking at.
Yeah.
That you think are value that isn't
Well,
getting out there.
yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is for those who um, found it challenging and frustrating, and frankly, even upsetting that we were that as a district we weren't open to in-person instruction for most of our students. I would say that what a lot of people don't know is that we were able to maintain a number of things. We were compliant with the guidance and stuff, but for those athletes and those musicians and those leadership students, and we really worked hard to the best of our ability to maintain whatever we could, whether it was
Extracurricular stuff.
certain kinds of practices with certain kinds of guidelines, and then as we went from purple to red and now to orange, we've been able to ramp that up, and so we really didn't stop serving a lot of our students, especially the after school activities, because
The stuff that does the
because
social,
the rules sort of
the
changed a
building,
little bit.
yeah.
It's like we had this, the 800-pound gorilla was, this is what the state says about what you can do for instruction, and there were lots of layers.
Then the 800-pound gorilla constantly lost 50 pounds in terms of rules every month.
Yeah.
It was anemic by the time.
But when you looked at things that didn't fall under the same exact guidelines, not to mention didn't necessarily require certain agreements with the teacher or classified staff association, whatever. So our coaches, our advisors, our teachers who were involved with lots of after or before school activities, we were able to maintain a lot of those so that we didn't start from zero. So now we have, and kind of wrote them down here because we literally jam packing several seasons in one. We've got girls and boys tennis, girls and boys soccer, girls and boys basketball, girls and boys wrestling, golf, swimming. Well, swimming's kind of like a hope so. We think we'll get there. Track and field.
Where would you swim?
Well, the base has a pool, and they let us use it last spring.
Oh, they still do? I thought
the outdoor pool
the
is
outdoor
still
pool, okay.
the indoor one's, of course,
Yeah,
gone.
gone.
They're rebuilding, but they do have an outdoor
The
pool.
outdoor one's still there.
And so we're really hoping, and we're working very, very closely and cooperatively.
Navy, if you're listening, we need your
Navy,
help.
We need you. We have 70. I don't remember exactly, but a large. It's one of our swimming is one of our very popular programs, right? It's open to boys and girls.
This is why we will get a competitive pool in the community.
Yeah, frankly, it's our winningest program. At Burroughs as far as CIF championships and league championships. But we have track.
That's the humor. Our most winningest program is swimming, but we have no community pool in the middle of the
right.
desert.
So track and field, baseball, softball. So we have all these teams. They're traveling away to other schools now. Currently, their schools are coming here, and we're in uniforms and we're competing. And the cool thing is about that is we wouldn't have been able to do that if we weren't maintaining and working hard to have these modified practices and things all along.
And that does mean a huge amount to that age bracket. I lettered in track and football, and it means something.
It
means something to those.
For some
kids.
people, it means everything.
Yeah.
Right? It means something. I would like to think it means something for everyone, but for some people, it means everything.
It really is. And it acts as a driving force for them to maintain the academics, to maintain focus. The kids have challenges all over the map, but these are sometimes they act as great focus.
Another thing I would like people to know that they don't know yet, because we don't know it all yet, right? We're fast and furiously building this plane, and we're really excited about adapting the really difficult things that we dealt with over last year. We also learned a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
We were forced. We, meaning all school districts, we were forced to.
I think we've learned something nationwide.
We have. Yeah. So we're going to. We think that because we were moving the needle like 1 nano inch to the right each time, right? But now we know, hey, moving forward permanently, irrespective of pandemic, there's going to be new programming, new pathways that we really were kind of reluctant
Reluctant
to
to put
do,
it because
because there was kind of some inertia. It's like, this is the way we do it. This is the way,
this is the way school's always been done. This is the
Exactly.
way we follow.
Right.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that box got I mean, it's not broken, but it got opened.
It's gotten
and
expanded.
it got inspected in terms
Yeah.
of, oh, well, there's this much space, and oh, we
Yeah.
can do this, and
So I think moving forward, we will have different types of registration processes. Before it was like, okay, here's registration, and what school are you zoned for? But now it might look more like, okay, well, our registration process is this, and would you like to attend your neighborhood school, or perhaps maybe there's an academy,
or there's a
where
hybrid academy,
the
or
hybrid
this,
academy,
yeah.
or distance learning, and
Yep.
and there could be some sort of like mobility associated with that. Like, hey, if you sign up for this, you really need to be committed for the semester. But if you want to move back in this way or that way, I kind of see some more flexibility. Which
Yeah.
which think about this. Let's just be really honest. Let's be really vulnerable. There are some students and families who, let's say, the last 10 years, that bullying has become
Absolutely.
more assertively viewed and studied and considered, right? And bullying, or mean behavior or adolescent difficulties, those are hard to solve, right?
Right, and they've existed forever.
Forever.
But
And so
you have new tools in the toolbox now.
we don't want to run away from those situations. We want to solve problems. We want to improve situations. But you know what? If we have different, more like robust pathways that might give some students the ability to get away from a situation that's not working well, maybe that student is a big part of the problem and needs some one-on-one help. Or maybe it is these other students that, I'm making this up, right?
Yeah,
It's
no, I'm with you
hypothetical.
100%.
But it could create solutions for many different students involved, and basically resource a situation for more success.
Yeah, I always say
That's-
it's like looking at something and you only see one edge, because we've only seen that same edge for all the time that we've understood how education model needs to work.
Right.
What's interesting is COVID has allowed us to see a wider edge for the first time. And I
now it's
absolutely
spinning
agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
And it's done that. I think that from a city perspective, I think it's going to be a huge part of our branding moving forward too.
Yeah.
Because I think that the model, a lot of people don't know this, but it's been talked about at council and it's being worked on really aggressively right now. Is we're hoping to, in the next couple of years, be able to say solidly that we got fiber into all of the residential areas of this community.
Correct. Yeah, I just read about that. Yeah.
And I want you, I always say, if you imagine what happens if we get fiber into the residential communities, all of a sudden we have a community that now has the ability to be remote capable, right?
That's significant.
And outdoor relatable. And what I mean by that is you can be working remotely for whoever it is you're working for and finish your day, walk out to your garage, hop on your dirt bike and hit the dirt.
Yeah. Let me
And
add on.
that's
Let
an
me add on to that.
incredible-
Do I have a moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to add on to that. So one of the other things, it's a third thing that some people have heard about, because I have described it, but not everybody has heard about it. So some of the one-time monies that the state and the Fed has provided school districts to help respond to pandemic, we're using about 2.2 million of the one-time funds that we got to build up our own private LTE network.
You did.
And I
Took
just
a
want
phone
to.
call, but yeah, I
So
remember
the cool thing about that is that something like 85 to 90% of our valley, and I'm talking like up in the northern boundaries of Brown Road all the way to, say, College Heights, something like 85 to 90% of our students and staff will be in this network where they're going to be connected from. They're basically like a district owned, say, Chromebook.
Yeah.
Will have embedded in it. The existing ones will have to have some kind of like a dongle or something that's connected.
Yeah.
But it will connect with this high-speed internet that not all of our students have, and we can't forget that. So now, we go back, we still have a bit of a homework divide. It's what's called the homework divide, where some of these students go home and they have highly resourced homes, very stable network.
Right.
Not all of our students do.
Not
So
all, not
now, with this, again, response to pandemic, now all of our students who need it will have a device that is connected
awesome.
to the LTE, to our LTE
Your
network,
own cellular
our own LTE network.
network, and it's piggybacking off of a cellular signal, or is it? It's not a boosted Wi-Fi. It's something. That
So
piggybacks off
we
of
have existing towers around our district. So our existing towers will have equipment added to them,
it.
right?
Okay,
And it lifts up this LTE,
it's a mesh
whatever
fiber.
that, it's
a
like
mesh
a
network.
enhanced 4G or whatever
Yeah.
that is. But it creates this network, and then it has to have this specific device
To recognize it.
that recognizes it, and then it goes through, since it's going through our existing towers at our school sites and such. It's going down into
The
the
fiber.
into the backbone,
Into the backbone
into
fiber.
our high-speed internet.
Yeah.
So, some of our students won't need it, and that's fine. But the students who need it will
It's
have
a
these
great opportunity.
devices checked out to them.
And that's the type of things. I mean, I've talked about a citywide Wi-Fi and some other things that I'd love to see us have the money for, but that type of thing, I have to compliment you, because what it does also is, here comes little Mr. and Mrs. moving from wherever they have been in urban wherever,
Right.
to Ridgecrest, and they're coming here for the outdoors and for the median home values and for all these other things. And if they they see a school district that is
Right.
working as strongly as you guys are to provide the technology, provide
Yes.
the resources, that is a quality of life factor that is huge in rebuilding and building the future generations of this community. Not just about what we've done in the past. This base and this community have an incredible history.
Oh,
But
incredible history.
We're about to wake up in a couple of years with the most technologically advanced base probably in the Western Hemisphere, very close to, and incredible infrastructure rebuilding and incredible opportunities for this community. And I love hearing that, because that's just another feather in this community's cap.
Yeah, we don't want to just keep up. We want where we can, we want to push forward.
Yep.
And we've been checking. There's 1,000 school districts in the state of California, a little over 1,000. We're among very few who are channeling some of these resources in this way.
It's the perfect area for it.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, the logic behind it is we're an isolated area. We're in the middle of nowhere. We have control over it. It's perfect.
Yeah, it is.
It's
It
awesome.
is. So it's an exciting time for us. I'm very appreciative of the support that we have gotten. I'm also, I've expressed apologies to those individuals, and it hasn't been a high number, but over the months, it has been challenging, right? Some people have been very upset about, hey, I want my kid in school. The joke we've made recently was that if you wind the clock back like 8 months, we'd get some of those phone calls, many times from friends of mine saying, hey, why aren't we in school? And when we do, there's no way my kid's wearing a mask, and it was a big issue. And I was like, man, this is gonna be tough. How are we gonna do this? It's so funny. And I'm not making light of it. I'm just bringing in a little humor for survival. Now you talk to parents, you're like, man, I don't care my kid will wear a helmet to go to school. You get my kid back at school.
Just get him away from you for a few hours.
It's amazing. Well, it's just amazing how the perspectives change. You give ourselves some months of adjusting and dealing with it. It's like, wait a minute, I don't really care about the mask anymore. I just need my kid back in school. And it's a very serious calculation.
I've been really pleased at how much we're starting to temper our attitude since November 6th.
Yeah. And I think it's all just I really do think it's all kind of falling into place. And I do believe that some of the safety protocols, we have lots of safety protocols in the schools. We have all kinds of PPE, and we have lots of hand washing.
Hey, we're still live streaming with this.
Yeah,
anyway,
right.
So
right.
I mean, I understand.
And then we have these plastic barriers, although I read today from an expert who said that they're really totally ineffective. But neither here nor
It's
there.
perception. Somebody said, "Why'd you put it up there?" I said, I want the person across from me to be comfortable, and if they say I'm only comfortable with a barrier, then I'm going to respect it.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of the big thing is showing some sensitivity and respect to our fellow Americans. Sometimes you go through these weird kind of junctures in time, and we just got to show each other a little bit of grace.
A moment in history. 2020 will
It
stand.
is a moment in history.
It'll be a moment in history. We'll be 30 years from now talking about how COVID changed aspects of American lifestyle very much. So.
Maybe some for better, some for worse, but that wouldn't be uncommon. But we just need to show each other grace and support, and just help each other out.
A little tolerance goes a long way. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think we are at our time,
Okay.
because we've went about almost 45 minutes, which has been
Excellent.
fantastic. And I just want to, again, thank you for coming. We
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you for, being willing to participate on it. Thank you for, please take back again all of our thanks for your staff and your admin teams and everybody else who's working for our
Certainly.
community. And my job is to make sure you got a place to swim in the future.
Yeah, I like that.
And
I'm gonna hold you to that.
And your job is to make sure that we continue that quality of education, because that's a quality of life that Ridgecrest brings other places that nobody can put a stamp on.
You bet. That's a fair expectation. I'll do everything to deliver on that. But thank you for doing this. This has been great. A lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun when it's easy. When you know the people, it's so much fun.
Oh, it's fun.
I'm having a blast with this.
We could go another hour. These guys.
We
probably
could
don't
go
want
another
it,
hour
but
easy. Easy.
Yeah. Especially if we
if-
start reenacting some of those skits that we did in the
The problem is
follies.
that we could go another hour probably with about 3 beers, and it would get very interesting. Because then at some point we start throwing out other stuff. But no, this is good. It's good live stream, and I like doing this because it's meant to be social and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible how much I don't think the community knows some of the realness of people. You get this image of a person, but that's not who they really are.
No, and it's through conversations.
Yeah.
And by the way, in a closing comment, this right here is kind of a symbol to me of good, because in pandemic, I worry that some students, some staff, maybe even some leaders in the community, we get kind of compartmentalized in this pandemic. It's like we gotta get out, whatever's safe or whatever. We got to get out and interact and collaborate, share
again.
best practices, share energy, for building things up.
And bringing positive energy, that does a huge amount right now. It's
Yep.
really changing that you come out of something as challenging as this was, but you don't come out of it with resentment or regret. You come out with opportunity and passion. We're going to see a lot of great things for this community. We're already seeing it.
Yeah,
I think we have a great road ahead of us.
I agree.
So with that,
Well,
I'm going to
hey,
say
thanks.
goodnight to DV City Talk, and thank you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.